Hello and welcome to another Beard Clipper video. If you're not yet a subscriber and you do enjoy these videos, please do subscribe. And don't forget to ding that bell and select all so that then YouTube will tell you whenever one of my videos goes live. As well as lots and lots of swallows shouting outside my window, which is what you can hear in the background now. This video is going to be me showing you how I've painted the ruins from the Joan of Arc board game. It's a simple technique, didn't take me very long, and I hope that you find it useful. So, without any further ado, and without any more interruptions from those birds, let's get started. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to do a wash of Null Oil over the whole thing. I have already primed this using the grey primer. Let me just grab that down and show you. This is the grey primer that I have used on this. There we are. It is Surface Primer 74601, and generally if I don't say I've primed something, if I forget to say it, but it's grey, then that is what I've used. And I'm going to take my Null Oil and I'm just going to do a very heavy wash over the whole of it, not picking anything out. And I've just realised that I've opened this Null Oil and I've not got my little stand down, which is humongously risky. So let's get that. Drop that in there and now I can relax a bit. So yeah, so I'll pop some music on and I will put and it's going to be a heavy wash because this is going to have, it's going to be, I'm looking forward to doing this, to be honest. And this is going to have quite a lot of different techniques applied to it. It is simpler than the church, but that's not saying much. Church is going to be hard work. Onwards. Been a little longer than I expected in real life before I've got back to this, but I'm now really wanting to get a game of Joan of Arc in, so I need to finish this and also paint the church. So let's get this done. So my idea for this one was to get ivory, which is like a yellowy white, and put that on the stones around the doors and around the around each of the windows. So do it quite a thin coat. Like that. And just paint around each of these like so. Hoping to leave a lot of the pre-shading that I did with the Null Oil to still show through, but just so that these look a little bit more like, so you can tell they're different stone. So I'm going to do that, and I will pop some music on. There we are, that's that done. So that is all of the details done on those stones around the doors and the windows have been done in the ivory, which is 70918. So now I'm going to pick out my next colour and I'll be back very shortly. So the next thing I'm going to do is use gunmetal blue, which is a particular favourite of mine. It gives a really nice colour and it's a bit different, it's a bit odd. And I'm going to do this gunmetal blue on the surround of this window, so the stained glass window. So if you can see that, it's a lovely metallic. It's actually probably one of my favourite paints from Vallejo because it gives a really nice colour. And I've used this to paint some Easterlings before to give them blue armour, blue lacquer armour, and that worked really, really nicely and really well. They're very, very good looking models. Some of my favourites I've done. Did them a few years back now, before I really knew what I was doing. It was more luck than judgment. But I'd rather be lucky than good. Who was it who said that? Don't know. Does anyone know? Anyway, yeah, we're just going to do a very quick coat of that over this and on the inside, and that will give it a little bit of a ethereal quality, a little bit of a, and also a bit of glitter, a bit of glamour. So I will zoom in at the end of this and get the light a bit better so you can see what it looks like. See the colour on my as I clean the brush. It's a beautiful blue. So let me zoom that in and improve the light. Hopefully you can see that nicely, how beautiful that blue is. Very nice, very pleased with that. Right, let's have a look and pick the next colour. Next up for this initial base painting stage, I'm actually going to do another wash. And it's going to be Citadel's Carroburg Crimson. And I'm going to do a light wash, so I'll be getting some on my paintbrush and then dipping the paintbrush in the water. And I'm just going to do this onto the columns because I want them again to kind of stand out a little bit. Maybe look like there's some old plaster on there that hasn't quite, or maybe some faded paint or something like that. So from before it was a ruin, these had paint on them. But I don't want it to be too overwhelming. I just want it to be the hint of a colour. So we'll do that. I'll pop some music on. It probably won't take very long. But I'll stop nattering because I've said everything I wanted to say. There we are. Just the slightest hint of red on those columns now. That's looking nice. I think you can probably see that now. Get that to the light. There we are. Right, clean the brush, pick the next colour, back in a second. What I've realised is when I was doing the ivory, I meant to do these big cornerstones as well. So I'm just going to come in here now and do that with the ivory. Just pick these cornerstones out to make them look a little bit more special than the main blocks. This actually is how a house I own looked like before I knocked it down. They had big white blocks in the corners and then grey stone for the main part of the build. So I know this is a legitimate architectural decision. Okay, that's done. So now I think we're going to start to look at the rubble inside. Now I can see immediately that there is actually one here that should probably have this white colour on, so I will get in there now and pick that out. Doing with it with the ivory, not ivy, ivory. Ivy will be later. Do it with the ivory now. So I'm going to have a quick look at that, work out what I want to do. I think I know. I'm going to work out what I want to do and I'll be back very shortly. As is traditional, I appear to have managed to not record the audio for this clip. What I'm doing is I'm picking out the rubble and the earth areas that are inside the ruin, and I'm going to be using tan earth. and you'll see the number of details for that on the screen now. So I'm going to just stop talking and put some music on, so that's what I'm doing anyway. And a second clip in a row, which I didn't actually turn my microphone on. So for this one, I'm going to pick out the wooden details, and for this I'm using flat brown, which is an old favourite of mine for wood before I owned the Vallejo wood colour, and I like quite a lot, and I still do use it on and off. So anyway, I'll stop talking, pop some music on, and you can watch me do this quick process. The next stage for this is actually going to be the final stage, because I think I'm quite pleased with how this is looking already, and I don't think it really needs much more paint. I have had suggested a few more things which I might do, but for now I'm going to do this, which is what I've been looking forward to the most. So why not do the thing that you're excited about? That's what I say anyway. So what I've got here is this Easter decorations or Christmas decorations or whatever it was that I picked up, and is just perfect, absolutely perfect, in pretty much any scale actually, for adding greenery to the sides of your building. So you can see I can glue that in there, and it's just perfect. Let me bring that in. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some PVA in that section there, because that is just absolutely spot on. There we are. And I'm going to drop that on, and it's going to be as simple as that. There we are. Now, what I do know, having used this stuff, is it is a little bit finicky to glue down, and so often you'll have to come back and do multiple applications of PVA just to harden it up and make it so that it doesn't kind of like move. So PVA underneath, stick the position it where you want it, and then tap it down in place with a brush that has more PVA on it. And later on I'll come back and I'll do the same process again with a little bit more PVA, but immediately that just adds so much. That adds so much. So the next thing I'm going to do is find another piece and do a little bit more on this side here. That's a nice smaller piece, and that one I think can start inside the doorway. Oh, it's a shame. It could even have grown up over. Let me see if I can find somewhere else to put that. Yeah, that one can be growing up inside the doorway like that. So again, same thing, a little bit of PVA. These little touches are what really make terrain pop. Adding a bit of colour and adding a bit of texture makes such a difference. And I think that once this is done, this will be ready to go on the tabletop, which will mean that the last thing that I need to do is going to be the church, which is obviously the big one. And then I can finally play my scenario. I think I might actually have some miniatures that still need to be finished as well. So I might not be quite as close as I hoped I would be. So another thing to say about this green stuff is that what I might end up doing is putting some flowers on it using coloured flock. So once it's in place, I can add more interest. Put a couple of little flowers, just my homemade flock that I have, that I make in any colour I wish, and that will add even more interest. There we are, so that's nicely in place. And I'll now leave that to dry. Those two pieces, I think it's enough. And what I'll do is I'll be back in a minute. I'll leave those to dry. I'll be back in a minute to do the next step, which is going to be some flock. So I'm back, and I have my nice light green flock. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put that in place in various spots. So I'm going to put some around here as well, where I've already got a little bit of the glue from fixing in the climbing ivy. And then we're also going to put a little bit on the inside here. I don't want to put too much because I don't want to overwhelm it, but just a couple of places where there's a bit of grass or a bit of flock or a bit of whatever it is. And what I'll do is I'll actually just apply it over the top of the bucket so that I don't need to worry about it falling out anywhere. So there we are. Done. How about that? Simple as that. That now is ready for drying, so I'm going to leave that and I'll be back later potentially to show you if I do decide to put some flowers on. Like I say, I'll be coming in relatively regularly to dip some more PVA over the top of the dark green stuff, but that's there. Good, very, very pleased. Final step on this, which I've now let to dry overnight, a bit longer than I expected, but that's not a bad thing, is to put some very small amounts of PVA onto the green here for this bit of greenery and ivy. So just a tiny amount of PVA, and then I'm going to drop some flowers on it just as a little bit of final colour, and then this will be done. Maybe a quick varnish, but then this will be done and I can wrap this video up. So I've got pink here, which is what I think I want to do, and for this I'm actually going to dip it in. There we are. How about that? Doesn't that look lovely? Let me just get that in focus. Great. So I'm going to let that dry, and then I'll come along with some varnish and varnish the whole thing just to make it solid, and then it's done. So I will now, sorry for that click, I will now wrap this up, and I hope that you've enjoyed that tutorial. So there you are. That was a nice simple paint job, and I think it's turned out really well, particularly those few last little touches of flock at the end really brought it to life. I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope that's inspired you to give this a go if you do own Joan of Arc and you haven't yet painted the runes. It'd be wonderful to hear about your experiences and how you managed to do it if you haven't painted it yet, or whether this has encouraged you to give it a go. Please do let me know in the comments below. I'll sign off now by saying thank you so much for watching this video. I do appreciate that, and please stay healthy, stay safe and stay well.